Whether you're new or seasoned in real estate, when it comes to what marketing you should deploy, it usually is dependent on two factors: time versus money. So, in this video, we'll cover how to find free deals as a new or seasoned real estate investor through building a network of professional relationships. So, we're spending time doing this, touching on the top players who, simply by having a relationship with them, can be a dynamic and repeat source of deals for your real estate business, and all for free. So if you don't have a lot of this, we're also going to share with you how you can benefit them so that these relationships can truly add value to everybody involved. With that, I'm Christian Weatherspoon. We're Real Estate Investing Made Easy, and it's time to make it easy. Cheesy. It's time to make it easy. We're going to be going specifically into how to market for deals with free and low cost options. In another video, we'll get into the paid ones, how effective they are, but really this is about time versus money. So we have a couple that we're going to work with, and we separated them to two categories. Chris, why don't you share what those two categories are, and we'll just dive right into it.
Yeah, so thanks, Christian. Basically, those two categories really come down to direct to seller, right? Where you, the investor, in some way, shape, or form are marketing directly to the sellers. The other alternative would be networking, relationship based, and that could involve a whole handful of different people that you're developing relationships with. There may be some costs associated with that depending on how you're networking, who you're networking with. Of course, if you have to drive somewhere physically to meet with these people, then you got to pay gas, and thanks a lot for $6 a gallon gas these days. And so that obviously increases your overhead and your average cost per lead, but we could talk about that on a whole nother YouTube channel not dedicated to real estate.
Different YouTube channel.
Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
The easiest, quickest way, and even if it wasn't the quickest way, you need these relationships in your real estate investing business anyway. You want to start developing them right away if you're getting started. And if you've been doing this for years, you'll already know that you can't get enough of these types of relationships to scale your business. But I know for me, having done this since 2009, that is real estate investing, there's never a time where networking with people and building relationships ends. It just doesn't end. So we're always looking for deals to scale our real estate investment business, and building relationships is huge. So let's just talk about the really key players that for deals we want to develop relationships with.
Yeah, and one thing to touch on, relationship building is more time intensive. It can take more time because you have to build trust with the person you're networking with and building relationship with, to the point where they then want to bring you a deal. And depending on the relationship and who it is that you're networking with, that could take months.
And once you have that relationship established and you just answer that phone call and they say, hey, I have somebody that you might be able to help, boy, I'll tell you, that becomes quick.
That's why it's really important to get started on that now. You can never be doing too much networking.
So you've heard the question a lot. How do I find leads? Low cost or free? Most of the time they ask free. And how do I do that, Chris? If I was a new investor and I wanted to find leads, how would I do that?
So if we're talking about relationships, then you can go and start to meet with different professionals, right? So you can meet with real estate agents, get to know real estate agents. You want to develop a network of agents, and you don't want to keep it to just one or two agents, because generally speaking, most agents kind of have their niche, their focus. Maybe it's certain types of properties that they work with, or maybe the area in your city that they kind of primarily operate within. And so you want to have a bunch of different agents. Think about it this way, right? The one thing that we have an even playing field in this life is time. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, there's always going to be people that have more money than you, more resources than you, and a lot of different things. But the one thing that's equal is time. However, there's a way to multiply that time and give you more time, and that's by leveraging other people and having them being the foot soldiers for you, so to speak. So if you build relationships with a lot of agents and you're able to provide value to them, and that's the key thing. If your goal is to just go to agents or go to professionals and say, hey, can you send me leads? Can you send me leads? It's only about what's in it for you And that's generally not going to create a great relationship. So the better thing to do is go to them and say, hey, how can I provide value to what you're already doing? Start to find out, like, what are the things that they need the most help with. Maybe it's, I have struggles with selling properties where there's low equity because, we can't sell it for the price that they need to sell it, and me still get a commission and them not have to come out of pocket to close the transaction, right? So finding that out is very valuable, because now you can come in and say, okay, well, what if there was a way, picture and imagine a world in which I can come alongside you, help you with this transaction. You represent me as the buyer's agent and double end the deal, but we can get you paid and get them out of their property in a scenario where they have low or negative equity, and you solve their problem and still get your pay. Would that be of benefit to you? Most people are going to tell you yes, right? So you're coming with value. How can I add value to you? The other way you can add value is if you're doing other forms of marketing, right, and you're getting leads elsewhere, not from other agents, you can say, okay, well, any of the leads that I get that are retail listings or retail ready, I'm going to pass them along to you as a referral and hand them off to you so that you can get the listing and make the money. Just give me a little cut of the commission as a referral. Or if you're not, which generally speaking, most states, in order to get a referral from a licensed agent, you also have to be licensed. However, the workaround to that is they are totally within their rights to pay you as a marketing consultant. So they can pay you a marketing fee out of escrow. So there's a few different ways that you can make sure to get paid when you're referring a lead back to an agent. So those are just a couple different ways.
We have no licenses as far as attorneys, so obviously checking your state would be different from state to state, area to area, agent to agent, broker to broker. Okay, so in terms of that marketing fee, I've structured it that way before. I'm also a licensed agent, so I can accept a fee for marketing. So that's a really good thing to keep in mind. And as far as getting paid a marketing fee for that as a non-licensed professional, you want to check with your agent, you want to check with the state to state, because it can vary in terms of what you're able to do, and it could be monetary as well. Like if it's over a certain amount, it doesn't make sense. You're not going to get a $50,000 check as a marketing fee because, you sent that person one deal one time.
Yeah.
What other relationships to create so that, on the other side of that, you're finding deals and you're just answering the phone and you got these people calling you and saying, hey man, I have another opportunity for you. Somebody you can help.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a whole host of people, like different types of trusted advisors that provide value for homeowners, like financial planners, accountants, attorneys, probate attorneys. There's all types of different professionals, and some of them may or may not legally be able to accept any type of referral fee or anything, which is fine. But typically in those scenarios, when you're dealing with these types of people, or these types of professionals, you want to, again, provide value, right? So how can I provide value to this attorney who is handling, a probate situation? Well, typically in probates and estate sales, things of that sort, there's a whole lot of things going on, and the property is often up to possibly be sold, or divorce attorneys are another one, right? Where a property might have to be sold, and in order to help facilitate the sale of that property at a high level, maybe there's things that need to be repaired. So maybe going to them with value, and in order to do this, you would have had to develop relationships with these other people, like locksmiths, contractors, builders, tile guys, flooring guys, cleaning people, trash haulers, right? Maybe you're dealing with a house where there's a hoarder and it's in probate, and in order to get the property sold, they need to clear out all of the trash that has been hoarded, right? So you need like a junk disposal type of person, right? So if you develop this list of people that you work with, then you can go to these attorneys and these other professionals and say, hey, how can I add value? I would love to be an additional resource for you and your clients, and here's the things that I can do, all in one-stop shop, right? So if I'm coming and I'm saying, hey, we can handle locksmith service, we can handle tile, we can handle cleaning, we can handle demo, we can handle all of these different things, more often than not, these attorneys, if they are going to refer somebody out, they're usually having to, onesie, twosie, pick and choose these different professionals. Whereas if you can come and provide value as the one-stop shop for them, then now they just have one phone call to make instead of wasting their time or having their paralegal call a dozen different people. They just call you and you facilitate that help. Now, you might think, okay, well, how is that going to get me deals, right? Well, it takes some time. Again, you're trying to come and provide value, right? It's not what you can receive, it's what you can give, and eventually it will come back to you. When they have somebody where they want to sell the property, they're going to reach out to you because you're somebody that's adding value to them, or they're going to link you
Divorce attorneys, bankruptcy attorneys are one too, because think of this, you being a professional problem solver and them knowing that you can facilitate that portion of it, that house that is involved in the bankruptcy or involved in the divorce, they're going to recommend, hey, there's this gentleman or there's this woman that I'm meeting with on a regular basis who's always providing massive value for the clients that I work with. And this is coming from the perspective of that bankruptcy attorney or from that divorce lawyer that, maybe the house needs a lot of cleaning up, and maybe even, the bankruptcy is, as far as being considered with the sale, the property is up for collection. They need to get that property sold. So they need to get it done quick. There's timelines and tight timelines. So who are they going to call? If you're the guy or you're the gal that can help facilitate that, they're going to call you because you've been in their ear providing value for them. And it's very often that bankruptcy has assets tied to it. Sometimes it doesn't, and clearly that wouldn't really be a deal for you.
Yeah. And the other thing too with divorce attorneys, I can tell you from firsthand experience, when you're going direct to seller, when there's a divorce situation involved, it's very rare that you go to the husband or you go to the wife and you start working with them, and then that spouse who is in a divorce situation, which is, just the nature of divorce is contentious in general, right? It's very rare that counterpart is going to want to take advice from anybody that their spouse who they're divorcing is recommending. And so, it almost never works out where you can get the deal and get the other person on board when you're going direct to seller. However, when you're being recommended by one of the attorneys involved, it's generally viewed more as a third party, unbiased person that's not, on one or the other side of the table. So the conversation tends to be better.
Yeah, that reminds me also of a transaction where we were communicating directly with an attorney who was handling a Liz pendants. And obviously, this has to do with a property. Contacting those types of attorneys and rubbing elbows, providing value is what I really mean, is also another way in which you can begin to cultivate relationships to, in the long game, make it a lot shorter of a game to generate multiple deals. So just continuing to network with professionals. And then, of course, we talk about title companies, escrow companies. We were looking at a potential buy and hold opportunity with our own escrow agent, who we were talking about another property that we were in escrow about, and just having a conversation because we enjoy talking to one another. And then he mentioned he was looking at this deal and selling the deal. And we said, well, we're looking to buy. So that's another way in which you can get properties from professionals like title companies, escrow companies, for sure, attorneys. And then we didn't necessarily touch on contractors. Expound on that. Looking for deals. How could a contractor give you a deal?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things that you can network with contractors for, right? Obviously, if your goal is to get into doing fix and flipping, you want to have contractors that can, handle the work. The other thing that you can do is you want to have contractors in your back pocket that you can refer to these probate attorneys and these divorce attorneys and other attorneys that you're working with, or other professionals. When they're recommending a client and they need something, you have a whole list of different contractors that you can help recommend out, and you're referring business to them, right? So that's another thing that you can do with contractors. But another thing that you can work with contractors is if they're working on a house, and oftentimes, I've been doing sales for a long time, and a lot of it was home remodeling. And the majority of projects that get done, when a contracting company is doing it right, they should be putting a sign in the yard saying, these windows are being, replaced by such and such contractor, or this roof is done by ABC Roofing, or, whatever it is, right? Not after the work is completed, because that's great and all, but there's going to be more activity and more eyes on the property while it's in the middle of the work. And I would almost encourage contractors, if you're watching this and you're a contractor, get signs made that are not just the little, political sized yard signs, right? Get a big sign that you can put in the yard that's going to be bold, put it in before you even start the job, right? And maybe you even factor in, a discount, whether it's a real discount or you add $500 to the price and then discount it if they allow you to put the sign, right? There's a lot of different things that you could do creatively to get them to allow you to put this in. And, oftentimes what happens is when contractors are working on the house, neighbors, when they're taking their dog for a walk, or they're walking the baby and things like that, they see these signs, they see these contractors working, and if they need something on their house, usually they're going to stop and possibly even talk to the contractors. Hey, what are you guys doing? Do you guys have a business card? Tell me, can you guys do an estimate on my house, right? So that can help. But, in addition to that, when they're talking to these homeowners, they find out, tell me a little bit about why you're looking to fix up the house, right? And more often than not, it's, we're looking to fix it because we're getting ready to sell, right? So what could possibly happen there? Well, they could get an estimate from this contractor and find out, whoa, with record inflation that we've never seen before in our lives, right? Up in the 8, almost, double-digit percent inflation, which is terrible. Prices have gone up and they didn't realize it was going to cost as much to do these renovations. And so now, rather than wanting to do the renovations, they're like, oh, well, I want to sell the house, but I can't afford these renovations. Well, if that contractor can come and provide value and he can say, hey, you know what? I have a guy, Lazarus Property Group or, ABC Properties that would be willing to buy your property in its current condition, they can refer that client to you. And what's the benefit for that contractor? Why would they do that? Yeah. Because when we come and we take ownership of that property, we're going to need to do the work to put it back on the market. And who do you think we're going to use? Yeah. We're going to use that contractor. So one way or the other, that contractor is going to get the job if they refer you to the property.
Yeah, and if you think that that's just a far-fetched scenario, you would be surprised to learn that it's not. And it is starting to happen more and more right now. And you'll see that more and more. So it's definitely good to align yourself, even if you're just going to wholesale for now, with contractors. Yep. Again, to refer to other professionals.
Absolutely.
Now, there's a little bonus here. I used to go after code violations, and then when we teamed up, we were going almost exclusively after code violations. You can, in different county to county and even city to city, find code violations in a different way. You want to check locally how to do that, and just know that as a side tip, when you go into the municipality, wherever it is in the city, to talk to those in charge of code violations, it is within your right to see that it's public information. But as you do, take note that in the spreadsheets they give you, whether you go online and find them or whether you physically have to go into the building, what you will see there are the agents' names that are assigned to that code violation case. And it has their number. It's not their personal phone number, but it's like a VoIP, it's routed to it. So they have it on them everywhere that they go. Call them and, again, add value. Say, man, I know how hard it can be for somebody who is in your position to always have to go back ever so often, maybe it's a month, every single month, and nothing's changed, and you're just tacking on fees, and you're met with resistance every single time when you go to check to see if that's been ameliorated.
Yeah, how excited do you think homeowners are to have the code violation guy come knocking on their door saying, hey, I'm back again, here's another $500 fine for this issue that you haven't resolved.
Yeah.
Not super excited.
Often those sellers would, very, very often, they want to sell, right? Now, there's code violations for like barking dogs. That's obviously not what we're talking about.
Or noise complaints.
Yeah, right? Those noise complaints are not what we're referring to. We're referring to incurable obsolescences, whether it's economic or whether it's structural. We're referring to
mold, fire
damage,
pests,
hoarding situations. Yep. And those are the types of properties that these individuals who are agents code violation agents that are going out to these properties see all the time, every day. And they're intimately familiar with not just the area, but with that particular property. So it is a benefit for them, for you to contact them and ask them, hey, look, I would love to be able to solve this issue. I'm a professional problem solver.
Yep.
Right, and you can get some properties locked up that way too. In fact, we've done that.
Yeah.
Right?
And in addition to that, when you start to layer in multiple levels of motivation, right? When you're talking about somebody with a hoarder house situation with code violations, or structural damage or fire or termite, flood, mold, things that are like scary, right? And mean a lot of dollars, so not only is there a significant cost associated with fixing that, but then there's also the fines tacked onto that, and then if you layer in, okay, well, let's cross-reference this list of code violations with pre-foreclosures or tax liens, or other types of situations where they owe substantial amounts of money. And now you have multiple levels of motivation, which basically equate to a higher level of distress, a higher level of motivation, and a potentially easier situation for you to close a deal.
Yeah, it might sound like a lot of things. If you're new to real estate investing, that might feel like, I don't know how to deal with any of those. Again, that's why you want to network with these individuals. Go to meetups, go to RIAs, and that kind of leads us into, well, okay, so that's great. Where do I find all these people, right? Where do I find these people to essentially prospect, because that's what we're doing, prospecting for leads, while at the same time building your team. And if you want to learn a little bit more about building your team as a wholesaler, there's a link in the video in the description below, and you can check that out. And we'll go into depth in that video about these individuals and even more how they benefit you and how you can benefit them. But right now, when it comes to finding them, yes, you can physically meet up with them. Something called a RIA, R-E-I-A, and it stands for Real Estate Investing Association in your local area. You can find these meetups on meetup.com and other places. Online Facebook groups, you can even do that exclusively online, which is a huge resource. Facebook groups are incredible for this.
Yep.
Right, a lot of deals done. We actually got one of our biggest wholesale deals done because we had a potential buyer, didn't work out, and he's like, man, we need to get this wholesaled. We found somebody. He posted one message one time, and over $200,000 later.
Yeah, I was literally up at like 1:30 in the morning, just scrolling through my Facebook feed, and because I'm in a bunch of these different investor groups, I saw somebody posted a post talking about, they have a team of contractors, they want to keep them busy, they're agents, and, they just want to keep the train going while there's not a lot of transactions happening. And so I messaged the person and said, hey, I have a few deals under contract right now. When's a good time to talk? Yep. Within 24 hours, the next day, actually, we got on a quick phone call. I sent her over the details of the deal, and 24 hours later, we had money in escrow on a transaction that turned out to be our largest wholesale to date. It was a $220,000 after paying out fees and paying out the tenants to help with their moving expenses. We ended up cashing a check of $221,000 and change, and we also got our agent a $10,000 check to do absolutely nothing because we had her set up on a relist at 1.5%. This particular buyer, as a husband and wife combo, they didn't want to have the agent involved because they're both licensed agent. He's a broker, she's an agent, and so they wanted to take the listing themselves, and so they were willing to pay her, our agent, $10,000 to step out of the transaction. So all in, we got somewhere in the neighborhood of like $240,000 through this transaction.
Yep. And that speaks to how important it is to build your team, and it also uncovers another way in which you can find deals. And this, of course, depends on what your strategy is. That is, if you're looking to rehab, it's other investors. Other investors can help you out and find deals. Of course, other investors who are really good at sourcing and finding deals and talking to sellers, you can act as a pseudo bird dog for you as well. So even if you're trying to wholesale, you can still get those individuals who are hungry, who just love to do that. Lean into your strengths, whatever it is. But if you're rehabbing, or even if you're wholesaling, other investors can bring you deals. I hope you're ready to go generate some relationships so you can generate deals. For the next 2 videos, you can go up here to find the next free marketing method using direct-to-seller methods that are free or low cost. And this one is going to be all about our top 10 paid marketing methods that are working to crush lead generation for us and our clients.